Hello everyone, and welcome to our second webinar today upon COPRA 2011 and its new features. I'm Carl Stevenson and I head up DataM's UK division, and I also look after some of our North American clients. I've been a COPRA RF user now for some 17 years, and previously I've worked at two of the largest UK roll-forming companies. But anyway, that's enough about me. Let's move on to what you'll hear about today, and this is COPRA RF 2011. So, first of all, we will discuss parametric flow design in COPRA RF 2011, creating parametric projects, and converting classic projects to parametric projects, using the new COPRA ribbons and using the new spreadsheet features and functions effectively, such as bending sequences, spring back application and dynamic unfolding. We will then move on to the new 3D mode. So, first of all, you may all recall in COPRA 2009 we had two separate databases. There was the CIF database, which ran predominantly in AutoCAD, and the CSP database, which ran in Spreadsheet. There was synergy between the two components, but unfortunately, the interface was slow, either the exporting from AutoCAD into Spreadsheet, again which was manually initialized, and not all the CIF functions being available in Spreadsheet, and existing interactive unfolded projects could not be changed parametrically in Spreadsheet. And also, the import from Spreadsheet into COPRA or AutoCAD could be slow, and again, this must be done manually. With COPRA RF 2011, the situation is different. We now have one common database. We have Spreadsheet now sitting within AutoCAD, which means things are much more faster and more fluid, and this is related to the new kernel we have created. So, the new project type. Obviously, to work in this manner, we have a new parametric project, and this is created in the same way in CAD Finder. We can also create classic projects and convert them to parametric projects, or we can also convert existing parametric projects into existing classic projects to parametric ones. We can import CSP files, CPE files, and CPM files from previous versions. Every project can be converted to a parametric project and vice versa. We have some new ribbons now, and this is available for people using AutoCAD 2010 onwards. You'll see the ribbons are workflow based. First of all, we have a main COPRA tab here with the majority of our base functions and views. Then we have the profile design tab, flower, through onto roles and role utilities, and of course punch sheet and simulation. On the ribbon, we now have some new browsing features. We can of course still use the browsing features of CAD Finder to switch between stations and flowers, but now by using these green arrows we have the functionality of the minus and plus signs, minus and plus that we had previously, and the get and show command has returned. So we have quick, easy access to the COPRA commands. Of course, those using AutoCAD prior to 2010 will still have icons. So, the parametric flow design is no longer necessary to initialize Spreadsheet. This is now done automatically. And the import and export between COPRA and Spreadsheet is no longer manually done. This is again not necessary as it's automatic. We have new bend sequence functionality. Of course, we had this with interactive unfolding previously, but it was not possible to do this in Spreadsheet. With the new version, we can use a similar technique as done previously by selecting entities here, specifying our end angle and the number of steps we require. We can of course save these into personal favourites for use at a later date. We now have spring-back functionality within Spreadsheet. Here, for example, you can see we want to apply a spring-back to entities 2, 4, 7 and 9, and by right-clicking we can then apply a spring-back to these entities. We can provide spring-back in two different forms. Here you see we have a spring-back which is user-defined for entities 7 and 9, and entities 4 and 2 have a material-based spring-back allowance. By clicking OK, these are then applied. Of course, there is always that bend where we may wish to get in one more time. Previously with Spreadsheet, we could not do this interactively and dynamically. We had to switch to classic mode. So now we can do this in Spreadsheet using the new unfolding functionality. We can preserve the geometry of previous stations so they are not affected when we do this. Okay, so now I'll give you a demonstration. So here's a new interface, and you can see Spreadsheet now sits at the bottom here. In this example, it can be docked or undocked accordingly. I'll now create a new parametric project. So over here to CAD Finder, right click, and we create a project, a parametric project, and you can see this is defined by the new COPRA icon. We have a new Create Project dialog box. I can complete this information. We can also now select our attributes in this box. And here we have our standard roll forming template where we specify our calibration method and ship with calculation. We can now create some geometry. Using a polyline. If we switch our ribbon to the larger view, select Profile from AutoCAD, specify the contour line side. We can now take the COPRA proposal for our plane of unfolding. This time it's correct. We are then asked if we want to split our profile symmetrically. In this case we can. And you'll see our profile now has a ghost on the right hand side. Also new for this version is entity numbering, and you can see each entity here in the profile is numbered. This can be switched on or off during roll design. We have the possibility to save our CSP file here on the top left of the spreadsheet. Okay. To insert a station, we can right click here and insert a pass. But of course we can use the icons here along the bottom. I just want to work now with the arc entities and the angles. By right clicking here, I can now create a bend sequence. Okay, so my end angle will be 0, and let's do this first of all over 9 steps. And you see I have 10 degrees per station, which should be fine. These can be saved for use later and specify where. and apply with OK. You can undo here and do that again. You can now see all of our stations, and of course we can apply some unfolding here. Let us now unfold the final stage. This time I won't save. And as I mentioned, we can now browse through the flower. I have my previous station enabled. I can deactivate here. Now, as with the previous version of the spreadsheet, we can activate a station to remain while we browse through the flower. With the new version, we can apply to see all of them, or we can drag and select these boxes here to highlight specific ones and deactivate here. Again, I can save the CSP file. Let us now create a spring back. So if we highlight these two stations, right click and create a spring back, we can select the type. This one I will do a user defined and 2 degrees, and I can set for all. Press OK and this will be applied. And you'll see here we now have a 2 degree overbend, and we've preserved the geometry of the previous stations. Again, save the CSP file. Now of course, there is always a station where we may want to get into that corner one more time. So using the get and show command, I'll select this station and see here, by drawing a construction line, that I am only just getting into this bend. So I'll return to the previous station, this time right click, and then unfold entities dynamically. And now you'll see the previous station here is shown. The increment of unfolding here will be 1 degree, and in this example I want to preserve the geometry of the subsequent stations. This would be the 70. Sorry, the 60. And after a few more degrees I can apply this. Now when we return to our flower, you can see I now have access quite easily to this corner. Now I'll create an archive. After I've saved, and call it flower. Okay, so now let us talk about the 3D features and functionality. So, as you've seen already, we can see the flower and the rolls in 2D, and of course now we have 3D views. And with this we can have roll collision control by fading in the previous and next stations. We can define our horizontal centers within the CAD Finder. We can have a 3D view of the profile, illustrating the forming curve, a 3D view of the rolls. The 2D option is also available. The 3D view has a surface or volume model properties. all the 3D options of AutoCAD are available. So if you want parallel or perspective views, you can have different view styles, preset views, 3D orbit, multiple viewing windows, and of course you can use the view cube. Here's an example of a 3D flower, and of course a perspective view of the rolls. Here you can see a multiple view of our flower, and let me show you how it's done. So, first of all, I will take an old classic project and convert it by right-clicking here to parametric. I'll try to. Okay, I'll use the Webinar 1 profile. And now erase this here. Maybe convert to classic. And now we should have some rolls. There we go. So first of all, our 3D flower. Switch to COPRA 3D view. And now we specify our station attributes and machine centers. Here you can see this is set at 280 millimeters. And now we can highlight the flower by using the light bulb. And now we can have some different view of that by right clicking. We can switch on our realistic view. And of course, should we wish, we can use a view cube. So now if we switch to our rolls, this may take a few seconds. Okay, so this didn't happen earlier today. There we go. And you can see our roll train. And look for collisions. Now of course you can see here, although there is no collision, things are looking a little tight, so I may decide to change the roll design, or of course increase the centers. If you would like multiple views, we can use the tabs here in COPRA. And of course each can be controlled independently. And here we can view from the top. And if you want to see a perspective view, and of course, should we wish, we can do a design walkthrough or fly through using the AutoCAD commands. We can of course then switch back to a single view by hitting here, and you see our wireframe model, and then by using the command 1 we get our large screen view again. And to return to 2D, we hit here, and now we can deactivate our stations. So, on the NetViewer chat window, there is possibility if you would like to ask any questions. So, for further information on webinars, you can visit the DataM website, and obviously under the respective language section you can see any planned webinars shown here, and of course you can register via the website. And there are recorded webinars available, so the webinar you've seen today you can download for review at a later date. And with regards to training and support, obviously in the new version we'll be contacting our respective regions and hosting update sessions, but of course there's a possibility for bespoke online training. And of course this is an opportunity to save time and money, as you do not need to leave the office. As we have done today, it's all conducted via the internet. And there are COPRA RF and COPRA FEA RF workflow videos now available for download.